Welcome to the Brand Boss Show, empowering you to rock your brand like a boss. This show exists to share all the tools, tips, and secrets you need to maximize the impact of your brand.
Welcome back, brand bosses. I am so freaking excited for our special guest this week, and I'm just going to dive right in and introduce her to y'all. So in episode 12, we talked about imposter syndrome, and I told the story, very vulnerable personal story, of the conference that I was at when this incredible fireball of a woman got up and talked about the worst thing that she's ever done for her business and the best thing she's ever done for her business, and how that brought breakthrough for me. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and catch it. But I just want to introduce my friend, an incredible business leader, a woman that I look up to on so many levels, who I am incredibly, incredibly grateful to call my friend and sister, Julia Winston.
Hi, Rachel. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm so happy to have you. So for anybody who does not yet have the honor of knowing the Julia Winston, do you want to share a little bit about yourself and your background with all the brand bosses?
Absolutely. But first, let me just say how amazing and awesome you are. Congratulations on all that you have done. I love how you are just taking it, and you just have this ability, Rachel, to just take what God is giving you, or just what you're passionate about, and just go for it. So I'm here for that. So thank you for inviting me.
Much.
And hello, brand bosses. I love that. Hello, brand bosses. My name is Julia Winston, and I am the CEO and founder of Brave Leadership Consulting, where I help Christian professionals identify and optimize their identity to unleash themselves into the work that God has called them to do at work. Not in the marketplace. I mean, not in this church, but at work. So if you're called to work, that's what I'm there for that. So that's a little bit about the overall of what I do, but I'm just a lover of Christ and just determined to just like live this life to the fullest based on what he said we can do. And I love leaders. I love leadership development, and that's my background. 15 years in the leadership development industry, and I have the knack for helping leaders identify their personal brand of brave when it comes to leadership. So that's a little bit about me. Married for almost 18 years to the most wonderful man in the entire world, and I love him more now than I did when we first got married. And he was a good cat when we first got married. So I'm just saying, he just like fine wine. Mm-hmm. And sorry, I just got caught up there for a minute. And mom of two, so I'm a mama, I'm a wife, friend, business owner, entrepreneur, all that good stuff.
Fireball.
I like to have fun.
You do, and you're good at it. And one of the things that I appreciate about you so much is that you just bring fun to the room. Like, I've been in so many situations with you where maybe people are a little awkward, or they're like, I don't know what to do. And you're like, hello, I'm Julia. The party could start now.
Well, that's a part of understanding and valuing what you have and what you bring. There was a time where I didn't like that about myself, and so I would try to hide it. And when I realized that was what, that was just part of who I was, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to hide it anymore. Like, this is me. And so now that I know a lot about who I am, what I carry, then I can just be free to do that. And I find that, just like you mentioned, when we are free to be ourselves, we free others to be themselves as well. So there's a lot of freedom in just being yourself. And so so I'm just glad that it's fun for me as well.
That's awesome. Can you say that line one more time? Because there was like static on your mic when you were saying it.
What line? I'm sorry.
You were just talking about when we're free, we free others to be themselves as well.
Yeah. So when you are free and you are freely, fully available and present, you free others to do the same, right? When we are free to be ourselves, we give people permission to be themselves. And so that's what I'm about, because that's literally part of my brand, part of my purpose. is helping people be free to be themselves. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, feel free, take us there, dive in, tell us your story, tell us what it looks like to be free, to be ourselves.
Well, so one of the things that you mentioned, okay, I do this exercise. And for those who are listening, I need you to use your imaginations. For those of you who are watching it, you can see it. But I do this exercise to kind of underscore a point. And I don't know if I did this exercise. I don't know if I did this one, Rachel, when you and I were together or not. But I do this exercise sometimes just to show people, like, here's how we really operate in the world, right? And I take these Post-it notes, okay? Now, visualize Post-it notes, those of you who are listening, right? And I take these Post-it notes and I put them, I wear glasses, and I put them on my glasses. And then I say to people, now, here's how most of us kind of live this life. It's as if we put Post-it notes on our glasses, and what's on these Post-it notes are things that we think we should be, okay? So whatever that is for you, what's that thing you think you should be? And you write that on that Post-it note, you stick it over your eyes, and then you walk through life trying to be what is on that Post-it note. So for me, I have the superpower, which I didn't appreciate for a very long time, but I have the superpower to see the greatness in people, to see, like, this is the potential, to mine the gold and then to call it out and say, come on, like, no, this is something that you really need to be doing. And so because I have that superpower, I would look at other people and go, man, Rachel, you know, you're just fearless. Like, and I love that about you. Or you go after it, even if you are fearful, like, or you might be in trepidatious or something like that. So I would write on one of my Post-it notes, fearless like Rachel. And I would put it over my eye, right? Or I would write them, I have a friend who's direct, you know, she's just kind of like, get to the point, no nonsense. And I'm like, man, I just love how she's direct in her communication. And I would write that on a Post-it note and put it over my eye, right? And so I would just go around collecting all these attributes of people that I saw as valuable and wonderful, that I wanted to celebrate in them. And because it was so good in them, I wanted to be that way too. But what happened, Rachel? I mean, like, I don't know, you can see me right now. When I put these things over my eyes, where do I go?
You disappear.
I disappear.
Yeah.
You cannot see me. And worse than you not being able to see me is I can't see me.
Yeah.
And so, and what I found was that that's how we've been conditioned to really live our lives. We've been conditioned to live our lives collecting bits and pieces of what other people tell us is the right thing, or how we should be, how we should live, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we walk around having no idea if we are living up to these Post-it note body collections on us, and then having no clue, or losing sight. The longer these Post-its stay on us, the longer we lose sight of what's truly underneath. Wow. And so what I do, I mean, if I just have to break it down to a very simple idea in my business, in my life, and my life purpose, I remove people's Post-it notes and say, now look at you. Now, I can't do that for other people until I did that for myself. And so for the longest time, I would just appreciate all these other things, but I didn't appreciate that I was fun-loving, that I was kind of feisty. I'm professional, but I say, like, if you're coming to me for leadership development, don't expect boring.
Come on.
Hey, don't expect boring. I am not going to be, I appreciate a good suit, a nice, clean, professional look. I appreciate the professional look as much as the next person. But I'm like, if you are tired of that, or if you're just tired of this stuffiness, then it's time to let that go. And so I had to learn to appreciate myself. I had to learn to take off all my Post-it notes, and I had to see who I was. And the truth of the matter is, I didn't like it. Because I was seeing myself through other people's eyes and what I wanted to be and all of that other stuff. And I really had to come to an appreciation of, this is what I carry, and this is good.
Yeah.
Right? This is good. And in the episode about Impostor Syndrome, I was thinking about that. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So did you have a question in there?
No, you're good.
You know I can talk, Rachel. So
I know. I'm here for all of it. Come on.
So when I was thinking about, imposter syndrome, and it's a psychological phenomenon where we see ourselves as less than ourselves, and are fearful that other people, if they really found out who we were, would dismiss us, reject us, or that they would see that we're not as great as we portrayed ourselves to be. And the interesting thing about imposter syndrome, and I don't know if you mentioned this or not, I can't remember, but is that the more accomplishments or the more accolades someone who has this idea receives, the more accomplishments and accolades, the worse it gets.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's not.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's what the research says. It says, the worst thing a person who really suffers from imposter syndrome can do is actually be praised more, get a bigger award, get more accolades or something like that, because it then keeps them trapped in the cycle of, wow, like now, like let's just say they won the Pulitzer. Well, when they won their school paper prize, the editorial, they won the prize for their school editorial. Well, that was a small level, or maybe they won an award at the local level or something like that. But when they won the Pulitzer, it was like, oh my gosh, now this is too big for me, right? Because that's kind of like the epitome of that, right? And so they go back, they dive deeper, or they sink further into feeling like a fraud with each accomplishment.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so what is like, so how do you come out of that, right? So a lot of people can say, yes, they'll raise their hand and identify and say, yeah, I kind of struggle with imposter syndrome, right? And there are all these, there are lots of studies, and in the work that I do to help, leaders understand themselves and whatnot, I studied this, and it's, how do I identify if I have it, right? So, there's a spectrum. So people with imposter syndrome can either, on the one hand, there's two extremes. On the one extreme, they're extremely arrogant and expert, right? So they have to present themselves as the expert, because when you present yourself as a know-it-all, then people don't question you.
Wow.
So they don't have to dig deep, right? They don't have to dig deep and go, oh, well, if you present yourself as the one who knows it all, then they really don't question, especially if you have some facts to back it up. So it's like, okay, so they find safety in that. So if I present myself as a know-it-all, people really won't dive deep to realize that I don't know it all. And so, right? So that's one hand. And then on the other hand, the other extreme is that those with this syndrome, or those who kind of, battle this mindset, they don't present themselves at all. They don't stand up for their ideas. They don't share their ideas because so they kind of hide. So on one hand, one person will go, hey, I'm know-it-all. The other hand, the other person will go, I know nothing. I have no opinions. I have no thoughts on this. Anybody, you go first. No, you go first. That's what they do. And so when it comes to fulfilling your purpose, if you are hiding because you don't know your genius, or you are overextending because you don't know your genius, then it's the same effect. You are still stuck, however it presents, right? So, anyway, so how do you break out of that? And I know that because that was me. I wasn't in the extremes on one end, but I think I was closer to the hiding one.
Which is
I was
wild.
a little closer to that. Like, I wasn't at that extreme, but I was a little closer to that because I would say stuff like, oh, well, such and such has more experience in this area, so I'll defer to them. Or, well, I don't think, especially for women, can I talk to women right now for a second?
Yeah, please do.
Because there's a statistic that said women will not apply to a job posting until they feel like they meet at least 80, I can't remember if it was 60 to 80% of the criteria of the posting. If they feel like they meet 60 to 80% of that criteria, then they'll apply. Just the posting. Men will apply if they feel like they meet 40%.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Why? It's the same written description. And it's this idea, especially as women, it's this idea that we have to be twice as good for half the pay. That's one lie that is perpetuated that I'm just like, I am so sick of that.
Come on, let's blow that one out of the water.
I am so sick of that you have to be twice as good you have to work twice as hard only to be considered as half as good or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not where I live, because that's just depressing, Rachel. Like, who wants to live that way? So how do so that's what I had to realize. I had to realize that I was in that place of seeing myself, not recognizing my accomplishments, not recognizing who I was. And there's some nurturing and some conditioning in that too, right? Not being, being told that you can't be braggadocious, you can't, toot your own horn, all of those things. So that just contributes to staying stuck and in bondage. And bondage is no fun.
Tell it like it is. It's true. It's so true.
Bondage is no fun, because you're sitting there, just think about your career or your business or something, and you're like, oh, I have an idea, or I'd love to be at this particular place. But every time you have a thought that expands you further or propels you further than where you are, there's this thing that goes, what you doing? Hey, stop that. Come on back down. Come on back down to earth. You can't do that. That's not where you are, blah, 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 blah. And the freedom that you experience when you just took a big inhale, got kind of excited about the possibilities, and it's like this thing comes along and just pops your balloon. And we're walking around deflated.
Yeah.
Most people are walking around defeated and deflated. And we don't have to. If you're willing to do the work to understand and combat these thoughts, because that's what they are. They're thoughts. They're thoughts. And you can think yourself free.
Come on. Say that again.
You can think yourself free. And I don't mean this in like a woo-woo, like, I don't know. I mean like practically, because let's just be real. You are thinking yourself into bondage.
Wow. It's true.
Every time you think, I can't do that. That's too big for me. Yeah, you're thinking yourself into bondage. Wow. So if you are so powerful enough that you can think yourself into bondage, then you all, or dudes, right? Then you are powerful enough to think yourself free.
Come on.
That exists. And so I live to help people think themselves free, because they think, oh, I can't do that. Like, they think that there's some external power. And I believe that God, helps us, but I believe that there's a pattern for how we do things. So so I had to live that pattern. I had to live that for me. I had to realize that I do have something to contribute. I had to start looking at my strengths, and not being ashamed of them, right? I had to start looking at them. Because if I asked you guys, like those of you who kind of struggle with this, if I asked you to make a list of all your weaknesses or the things that you need to work on, most of us can jot that list down very quickly, right? It won't take us 5 minutes to get 40 things on that list. And then if I said, okay, now draw a line in the middle of that, and on the other side of that line, write down all the things that you are great at, that you are bad at, bad in a good way, right?
Yeah.
That you are boss at, like, bam, I got this. This is what I own. Like, yeah, I can do this and I can do that. Like, write that list down. And it would take most people like 2 days to come up with 10 things.
That's real.
Why? Because what we focus on magnifies.
Come on. Wow. It's the truth.
And a lot of us are focusing on how bad we are, how terrible we are, how we don't have this and how we don't have that, right? And so when you start thinking about all the things you don't have, and then people promote you or you get praised for something, the first thing that comes to your mind is what you've always been thinking about.
Yeah.
So I tell people, like, it's not the way you think about yourself now is just proof that you have the ability to think yourself out of that, because you're just used to it. It becomes a habit, and habits can change. The way we think is a habit, and those habits can change. How do we change those habits? So I'll just tell you what happened for me. Is that all right?
Yeah, go for it.
Or do you have something else that you wanted to?
No, this is great. Like I said, I'm here for all that Julia Winston wants to bring. All of you guys who are listening, like, this is seriously one of my most favorite people. So if you haven't yet, just like go get a cup of coffee or tea or whatever, and you're just listening in on a conversation that we're having. So yeah, go for it, Julia.
I don't even have any notes. So if you are ready, so this is what I want to say to you, like brand boss, like, and I love that because that is a declaration of here's what I'm good at. Here's what I'm good at. I'm good at this. I'm good at branding. I am good at telling you, like, this is what you need to do, right? And so I love that. And so if you are ready, listeners, viewers, right? If you're ready to just kind of step into that place and own it, if you're just tired, because it's tiresome, Rachel, just feeling oppressed all the time. Like, it's real talk. Like, I'm like, man, this is depressing. I don't want to be in that place. So what do I need to do? So I'll tell you what I did. For me, I had to go back to, and this is a lot of what the experts said, but I had to go back to where's my confidence? Mm. Because imposter syndrome is really steeped in a lack of confidence. And for some, it's more, for some people, it's not a lack of confidence in your ability to do something, but it's a lack of confidence in your personhood. It's in a lack of confidence of your identity.
Oh, that's so good. Dig into that for a minute, because that's so true. Like, I know, you were talking about, I'll just digress for a minute and get vulnerable and real, because that's what we're doing here. So even the name, the brand boss, it took me a while before I could own that, and so really where I think imposter syndrome hits the deepest and holds us the most, as you were saying, in bondage, is exactly what you're about to talk about right now, is this lack of identity and this lack of understanding the value that we have, that who we are is valuable, who we are is powerful, even if it doesn't look like something we would write on a sticky note and put on ourselves. Like let's just go there. We're going there, so let's just go there.
Let's just go there.
So in my life, like growing up, guys, you are not excluded from this conversation, but I feel like there's something, especially for our women listeners right now, because I know that obviously guys deal with it too. I just know my experience, and I'm a chick. So, but growing up, like I have never fit in any social circle in my entire life. I have always felt alone in a crowd, and so by default, what we want to do is we want to fit in. We want to be accepted. We want to, and so I remember growing up and looking around at the girls around me and, oh, I wish my hair was like hers. Oh, I wish that I was good at sports like her. Oh, I wish that, and so while those weren't good sticky notes that I would put on myself, they were bad sticky notes I would put on myself. I am not good at sports, like my gifts lie far from the athletic field, which I'm fine with as an adult. And I don't think I even cared about that much as a child, except that made me different. Right. And so all of these sticky notes that I put on myself were more all of the ways in which I was different than anybody else, and I remember even, it's ironic that I'm wearing purple, but even like a silly little thing, like I have never had one favorite color in my entire life. I know, knowing me, you find that hard to believe, but I love all the colors of the rainbow and every variation in between, And so people would say, what's your favorite color? And my best friend's favorite color was purple. And so without even thinking about it, I would say purple. I had a purple backpack for my entire all the way through school, And so then as an older teenager / young adult, when I was with the ballet company, my best friend there happened to love purple. And so I would say purple. That's not actually my favorite color, but it took me, and this sounds ridiculous, it took me until I was 25 stinking years old to finally be honest with anybody who asked me about what my favorite color was. And, if I have to pick one, it's like aqua, but still, even then I'm like, but it's not just aqua, but it's not just, and so it's so funny to me that this silly little seemingly insignificant thing like what's your favorite color. There was so much of this, if I say the wrong thing, I am going to be rejected. And I'm already so aware that I don't fit in with anybody around me that I'm going to wear all of the sticky notes, particularly internally, of how I don't measure up.
Yep.
But I'm going to take the purple sticky note and put it on my forehead. And maybe if I have a purple sticky note on my forehead, then they will accept me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's so ridiculous. Like, where does that come from? Why do we do that? I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we do it. Like, okay, so I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. I just work with people and love people and, just help them recognize their greatness. But I think, I'll talk to me. The reason I would do that is because there's this belief that, especially, okay, I'll say this is true of people, especially forerunners, for people who are like pioneering and trailblazing in nature. There is a part of us that we see through the eyes of our strengths, but we don't know what the strengths are, but we see through the eyes of our strengths and notice how things are different, how things are and how things are different. Why? Because our strength as a forerunner is to go, this is different, which means that this thing that I need to create, right, is going to serve a purpose, right? So so we see through the eyes of this is what we're supposed to be doing, but we interpret through some social constructs, some, other things, some insecurities. So we interpret the things that we see as negative when really the fact that you could see differences was valuable, because in the work that you do, you're going to have to be able to distinguish between small nuances. You're going to have to see how this person's, how one chiropractor's brand is different than this chiropractor's brand. Well, they're both chiropractors. So where are the differences? Someone has to be able to see the eyes, have to be able to look at these and really see the difference. That's the strength of what we bring. But when we do that, when we turn our strengths on ourselves, then they become weaknesses. And then we just don't see that. And so that's why I say, like, we cast away our confidence, not in what we do, but in who we are. Because we're conditioned, especially in America, to believe that our value is in the doing and not in the being.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, which is why that it gets worse when most people get more accolades, right? Is because they are valuing the doing, but what's really in the heart cry of people is like, you don't see me. Like, can I just be me?
Come on.
That's what it was for me. It was like, I was mad. I was like, listen, all of these people, especially God, I just went there. So since we go there, can I just be real about
be real. Be you.
Real? Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to be real about how I was mad with God, because I was like, God, you don't really, I was looking at other people and it was like, yeah, other people are treating me the way that I'm allowing them to treat me, because they're treating me as if I am a commodity, right? Like I possess something that they need, so they come and get it.
Yeah.
And when they're done, they're done. Now, there are times where that's acceptable, like a job, right?
Yeah.
To me, like, hey, this is what I need from you. I do it. And then, you know what I mean? But then there are times that there weren't acceptable. There were times where that was abusive. And there are times where, but that was still kind of the framework of how I was interacting with people. And what I found was the way I was interacting with people was really a reflection of how I was interacting with God. Because I had set up in my mind that, God, you really only like me to the degree that I can do something for you.
Wow.
Just like all these other people. You don't really love me for me. You love me to the degree that I can tell people about Jesus. You love me to the degree that I can pray. You love me to the degree that I can read my Bible and not fall asleep at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Like all these doing things.
Yeah.
And I had to come to a place. And so because all of our stuff was based in our doing and not in our who and our being, then it's easy to, there's that scripture. Can I talk about scripture on here?
Go for it. Come on. Come on, be Julia.
Yeah, like there's the scripture that says, cast not away, and I grew up KGV, but that's how I learned it. But it says, cast not away thy confidence, because it brings great recompense of reward. I don't read KJV now, but that's just, I've always remembered that scripture in that version. But it was just saying, don't throw away confidence, because your confidence has a compensation connected to it. There is something that confidence pays you.
Wow.
And if you throw confidence away, then you don't receive that reward. You don't receive that compensation. And I feel like a lot of us, what we're doing is that we are throwing away our own confidence and trying to pick up someone else's. And then are wondering, why don't I feel fulfilled? Why am I not rewarded? It was like, because the thing that's really going to reward you was the internal confidence, not the external one. The external confidence of, and I don't mean an arrogance, right? People get that mixed up too. I don't mean arrogance that you know everything and whatever, but it's just a value of who God made you to be, who you really are. And that's what we don't value. If you do not value who you are and what you carry, quirks and all, right? Hot pink fingernails, I have my hair straight right now, but you've seen it. It's like, I have big curly hair, right? If you don't value who you are, how God made you, what packaging he placed inside of you, then you will forever walk around frustrated, feeling distant and alone. Because the truth of the matter is, we all fit. We all fit. God didn't make misfits.
Come on.
There's no island of misfit toys in heaven. Right? Everyone fits. And so it's just, and so once you come to, like, imagine what it would be like if you walked into a room and instead of the pervasive thought in your mind is, I don't fit in here, these people aren't going to accept me. What if the pervasive thought in your mind is that this is exactly where I belong and I'm about to find and connect with some people just like me?
Wow. What
changes? The composition of the room does not change, right? The people who are there, they're there. That hasn't changed. But your perception of who you are when you come into this room changed. And so I had to learn that, because I was like, God, you don't love me for me. And he was like, no, I really do. And so I had to come into this. It was a hard time. It was a hard lesson. And he said, let me show you how you don't have to do anything for me to fully love you. And I'm like, I don't believe you. Like, I turned my mouth up. I was like, I don't believe you. And so what he really did, Rachel, he just blessed me into confidence.
Wow.
And what I mean by that is, he just said, see here, I love you here. I love you here. And I tested him. I was like, I'm not reading nothing. I'm not doing nothing. I'm not saying nothing. Now what you gonna say, God? Watch.
Right? I love you so much.
And I was just real. And I was like, I'm not doing it because I'm tired of this. And he was like, yeah, you don't have to do anything. And that's where that scripture that says, while we were yet sinners, Christ came and died. He didn't do it because we were so good. And he was like, oh yeah, they're so good. Let me just reward how good they are. He did it because of love. And I was like, oh snap. So once I started believing God, so once I got that relationship, once I understood that I am loved unconditionally for who I am, not what I do, then I saw what I did differently.
Wow.
And I think that's what's missing. I think that's what, how do you get over this? It's you whatever you value, you treasure. And there is a need for us to learn to value what we have.
It's true.
And why aren't you valuing it? Because somebody told you that it wasn't valuable? Well, are they the authors of your life?
Come on. Come on.
And there are circumstances, and I'm telling you guys, I grew up in the inner city of Baltimore, Maryland, and there's circumstances of life where it's the circumstances should point to a different outcome than where I am. Let's just put it that way, right? The circumstances should have pointed me or should have led me to a different outcome than where I am. But I was like, something has to change. And so that's what I did. So that was part of me just kind of like taking off these sticky notes and going, okay, let's talk about, you are intimately acquainted with your weaknesses, Julia Cherie. I call myself. I'm like, you are intimately acquainted with your weaknesses. How about you get intimately acquainted with your strengths? So when I got intimately acquainted with my strengths and recognizing like the thing that I'm just so good at that I don't even recognize it's a strength, when I realized those things, and I was like, oh, that's what I bring to the table. So now I shifted my idea of when I come into a room, I have a solution. When I step into the room, I am the solution.
So good. That's so good. Just say that one more time, just because it's so powerful.
When I step into the room, I'm not saying, oh, I have a solution. When I step into the room, my mindset is I am the solution. All of my makeup, the way I think, my education, my personality, my gifts, all of those things are a solution to whatever is happening here, to what someone needs, right? So encouragement is a huge gift. I'm a huge encourager. And so, so when I step in, and I'm an encourager in a way that people can receive because I'm a little disarming, like I'm not intimidating, like at least I don't think I am.
You're not intimidating.
Yeah, I'm not intimidating. I'm not standoffish, right? So people can receive like this encouragement because I'm not standoffish. I'm like, man, that's so awesome, right? And I'm so encouraging that sometimes it brings up the disbelief in themselves because it's like, what is she talking about? I'm like, I'm talking about you. It's like, you don't even know me. I was like, no, but you don't understand. I use my superpower because I have this sight, like I have this insight into who you are. So I do know you because I can see it. And at this particular time, if you cross my path, then it is my time to tell you how fantastic you are, because at this particular time, that's the solution that you need.
Yeah.
So that's just me coming into that. So it's really getting acquainted with truth. That's how you break that off for good. That's how you break it off. Get acquainted with truth. And every time these thoughts of I'm not this, I'm not that, it's like, but this is what I am. This is who I am. This is what I carry. This is what I have. And in the things that I don't know, in the skills that I don't have, I can learn that. Or I can, partner with someone who has those skills, So like the things that we lack, they're not forever detrimental. The things that we lack, there are things that, are available to us to learn at some point. Somebody might have it, so I can collaborate with someone else. Or maybe I'm in a season where I have to learn some of these things. It's like, great, I get to educate myself on this. But it is not a death sentence because you are weak in an area or you don't have a strength. It's an opportunity to either grow or connect with someone else.
And the thing, yeah, it is. It's true. Either way, it's a win. And the thing that I think imposter syndrome does is it keeps us from either admitting a weakness, so then we don't get to connect with the people who do have the solutions that we need, or we don't learn the things. Right. And so because we feel like, oh, I don't have this skill, so I just can't do it.
Exactly.
Or, on the flip side, like you were talking about before, I thought that was so powerful how you brought up the two sides of the coin. That the one side of the coin is I'm going to show up here with all of my tail feathers fluffed out, for the world to see that I got all my stuff together. And the other side is I'm going to be a wallflower and I'm going to hide in the corner over here, And so it goes either way. Like the one hand is I don't need anybody. Like you're just not ever going to see that this is a weakness because I just don't need anybody. And then the other side over here is I can't do it on my own.
Yeah, I need everybody. Everybody has a greater skill set than
everybody has a greater skill set than me. And so then what could I possibly have to bring to the table? And this is such a powerful conversation on so many levels. Not even I'm not going to say I think you hit the nail on the head, because you did hit the nail on the head, because all of the things that make us feel less than when those thoughts of imposter syndrome come are all in our doing. They're all in our performance. What you were talking about, that journey that you went on had to do with performance. Like, if I can just do more, if I can just be more, because, speaking of not tooting your own horn, you've done some pretty big stuff, lady, that, and you've done some, unleashing leaders for some pretty big companies that people would know. So this performance of, if I just do more, then I'll be loved, is really at the core of it. If I just do more, then I'll be loved, then I'll be worthy, right? There's that word worthy. Like, I will be worthy of being accepted. I'll be worthy of love. I'll be worthy of all those things. But if it doesn't stem from internal value, then it's all just stuff. It's all just stuff. And then, like you said, I'd never heard about that before, but it does absolutely make sense that for people who have struggled with this mindset of imposter syndrome, that the more success that they have, the worse it gets, because then the more they have to do. Because usually the acknowledgement that they receive is from what they've done, not who they are. And so when you mentioned that scripture, I just chuckled, because I literally, when I moved into my office at the incubator, where I launched my business, for the first, well, not the first, but 2 of the 4 years, I had that written. I had that written in the corner I had this huge dry erase wall. It was a whiteboard, but it was yellow. So I don't know. Does that make a yellow board? I don't know, something, whatever it was. I had that written there, and I feel like what you just said today, though, made it come alive to me in a whole new way. And this idea of casting away confidence, whatever you believe, brand bosses, it's a powerful, confidence is powerful. And this idea of casting away confidence is something that I think we've all done at one point or another. And what causes us to cast away that confidence is really this idea of identity, and this idea of, if I show up as the true me, if I show up as the true me, it'll either be too much, like you were saying, or it'll be not enough. And so if I just don't show this part of me, if I just don't speak up, then
and even that phrase, like, if I show up as the true me, it won't be accepted. The only reason it won't be accepted is because you don't accept it.
Wow.
You don't accept it in yourself. So therefore, you're just projecting on other people.
Wow.
Right? Eleanor Roosevelt said one time, I think it's quoted or it's attributed to her, saying, it's like, no one can make you feel inferior without your permission.
Yeah.
And so this idea that if I show up as myself, I'm not going to be accepted, it has nothing to do with the other people. It has to do with you accepting yourself.
Wow.
That's where it starts. So now it's not there. So I can go into any situation with any person. I'm accepting myself. That's what I had to deal with. I had to learn. That's why the exercise, like, so if you want a practical exercise, brand bosses, right? If you want a practical exercise about how to practice accepting yourself, for those of you who are spiritual, right? I'll say this: ask your higher power, what do you value about me that I'm not valuing about me?
Wow.
Ask him or it, just again. I asked God, and I was just like, God, what is it you're valuing about me that I'm not valuing about me? And ask that question and see what he says, right? Those of you who lean that way. So those of you who don't, who don't really have a spiritual practice, here's what I want you to do. What are the things that you dismiss about yourself on a regular basis? What are the things you dismiss about you?
Mic drop. Oh my gosh. I'm like, what? You gotta say that again. That's so powerful. Like, whether you believe in somebody to ask or not, like, that just statement in and of itself.
Yep.
What are the things that you dismiss about you
Yep.
on a regular basis?
On a regular basis.
Oh my gosh.
How many times a day are you thinking, I can't do that, I don't have that? Or how many times a day? So because it's subtle. So sometimes it will come straight at you like, oh, I can't do that. You can't do that, blah, blah, blah. But then sometimes it'll sneak up like, I need, something needs to get done. I need to go ask such and such about that. So it'll sneak in that way, right? Where anything that I need to do needs to be checked and rechecked and validated by somebody else.
Wow.
Why? Now, not to say that we can't have collaboration. We need collaboration.
Sure.
But just ask yourself, why are you dismissing your ability to produce it to someone else?
Wow. Well, it's like that fear thing. So when you're saying checked and rechecked, like there is definitely a time for collaboration and all that kind of stuff. But if you feel like you can't take it on yourself, if there's this like, I can't send this report on until so-and-so has looked at it, or I can't do this until I get so-and-so's opinion on it. That's really what we want. We want somebody else's, like, sometimes we want somebody else to check over work, and that's a good thing. But usually if it's this
I need a
thing,
proofreader. I'm just being real. I need a proofreader. Right?
And that's a good thing.
It's a good thing. It's appropriate. Yeah.
But when there's a fear, it's because I need somebody else to tell me that what I have just done is good, which goes back to, because if what I have just done is good, then therefore I am good.
Yep. Or,
oh my goodness.
And then on the other side of that is, or I don't want anybody to see it or check it or anything like that, because if someone does check it, they're going to see, oh, you had a typo. And then that's going to be like an bombardment of like how I'm not good. So, I mean, it presents itself in different ways, but it's really coming from the fact that you do not, A, know yourself, and then B, value yourself. Because you can't value what you don't know.
Wow. That's
you
true.
What you don't know. My when I have two boys, and so when they were younger, if I gave them $100 bill, they probably put it in their mouth and like bite it, and because they don't know what that is, and so they don't value what it is. It still has its value. And so if you don't recognize the value that you have, I mean, if you don't know who you are or what something is, then you won't value it. And so that's what I feel like this is a shift that's been happening in the workplace. This is a shift that's happening in entrepreneurship, is that people are coming to an awareness of who they are and their uniqueness. Think about, and I say this like, and if you don't believe me, think about all the brands that you love, the people that you follow. Why do you love them and why do you follow them? And I can guarantee it's not because they're telling you the best way to grow your revenue, or they're telling you, the best way to have personal development. The reason that you love them is that because there is a uniqueness about them and how they talk about their what or whatever they're doing that you identify with, and you just like the fact that they're just being unique about it.
Yeah.
That's why you follow them. You follow them because they're unique. People who like Gary Vee or Tony Robbins or John Maxwell or Marie Forleo or, any of these people. Why? They're all kind of basically doing the same thing. Like, if you're just really honest, they're all kind of basically doing the same thing. But why do you like them, right? Some people like Gary Vee because he uses profanity and that appeals to them. They're like, yeah, somebody successful that, speaks just like I do. Some people like, it's like, what is it? Why? Because there's a uniqueness factor that you've identified in them, and they're being themselves, and you see it, you know it, and you value it. So if you can know it and value it in others, then it's time, brand bosses, that you know it and value it in yourself.
Yes. And that's branding, like everything you were just talking about.
Yes.
So what you see in somebody else, everybody, anyway, there's this whole conversation that just gets under my skin about building a personal brand. You do not, all right, I'm just going to say it. You do not freaking need to build a personal brand. You are a personal brand. Yes. All you need to do is be you and show up as fully who you are. Gary Vee did not build a personal brand. Gary Vee is authentic to who he is, and it resonates
Yeah.
with everybody who sees that and sees that it's congruent with who he is.
Yep.
You know, all of these
Love it
people
or like it, you know, I mean,
love
love
it
it.
or like it. And
You
you
know,
can tell,
right.
you can tell at a glance the people who are building a personal brand versus being who they are. And are there things that you can, you know, keep in mind and whatever? Sure. You don't need to build a personal brand. You need to rock the personal brand that you already have, that you already are. And if you see and value other people who you're drawn to their personal brand, then it's time, and I'm speaking to myself as well, to value the personal brand that we are.
Yep.
The personal brand that we are. You know, I was talking about how I've never fit in, you know, and I've shared a little bit of my story. I'm sure I'll share more of it here, but different, that thing that was such a sore point to me for so much of my life is actually my superpower. You know, like you said, it's actually my superpower because literally I am wired to stand out.
Yeah.
And because when you approach this conversation about branding, you don't want to fit in, even though that's what all of, well, I shouldn't generalize. What a lot of the voices will tell you is do this and use this template and do this and do this and do that. Chameleons blend in to not stand out, which works really well if you're trying not to get eaten by a bird or a snake or whatever.
Exactly.
But for your business, do you really want to blend in or do you want to stand out? And if you're truly going to stand out, then it takes having the courage to be different.
Yes.
And there's a whole lot of imposter syndrome that tries to come in with that, which is why if you are not secure in who you are, if you are not, let's use that powerful word, confident in the value that you yourself have, that you, your company have. You know, the biggest thing that's probably going to unlock a whole new level of even literally revenue for your business is you having the courage to show up in the marketplace as who you really are and stop dismissing those things that you've been putting off because they don't look like all the companies you see around you in your space. When you stop trying to be like your competition and you start showing up fully as who you are, that is going to unlock favor. It's going to unlock doors of revenue. It's going to unlock clients. It's going to unlock all kinds of things, because when we don't cast away our confidence, when we have the value of who we are, that's literally what's happened for Gary Vee and for all those people that Julia mentioned, you know, my girl Ray Tallis, like literally it's her having the confidence to show up and be like, hey, this is me. Here are some of the most embarrassing moments of my life. You know, all of these things, if you look at people like that you're probably drawn to, you know, how many people would write a marketing plan for Gary Vee that looks like what he does? How many people would write, you know, here's how to get some of the biggest stages in the world. Talk about the time that, you know, this really embarrassing thing happened. And yet, if you look at the people who are holding those positions now, who have that influence now, who you are drawn to now, they didn't rely on what other people said they should be about those Post-it notes. Like, we're literally drawn to them because they had the courage to take the Post-it notes off. Like, from the moment that I met Julia, before I even knew that Post-it note analogy, so I wouldn't have described it that way. Literally from the first moment I met her, you guys, the first moment I met Julia didn't even happen in person. It was on a Facebook Live. And from the moment that I met her, the first thing that rose up in me is I was instantly drawn to her because I said, this is a woman who knows who she is, and she's completely confident in that. And now that I know her as well as I do, that is like even an understatement. but but I just, like, when we have the confidence to show up as all of who we are, that's what draws people to you.
I want to touch on what you said about courage, okay? Because my company is Brave. And so I think I make a subtle distinction between courage and bravery. And so I have conversations like this because even in the conversations like this, like I'm hoping that your listeners and the viewers are feeling like the courage to be like, okay, I can do this. I can do this, right? And that's what I want. I want them to feel that courage. And courage is something that something that you can muster anytime. Like, you can be inspired and the courage can rise up in you. But then you have to go a step further. And when you take a step, so my thing is, like, courage is the feeling. Bravery is an action.
Ooh,
It's
that's
like
good.
when I move from, I feel this courage. Courage gives you the internal motivation that you're sitting there at the starting line. It's like, okay, go, 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 go. And then when the gun goes off and the race starts, bravery is what moves your feet. It's like the moment I take a step filled with courage, the moment I take a step, that's when I've become brave. So you can be courageous at home on your couch. I mean, just go watch, that Mel Gibson movie where he has the thing on.
Braveheart.
Like, you can be courageous on the couch watching that, right? You can be courageous watching some underdog story on TV or on Netflix. And it's like, yeah. Like, you can be courageous going to an event by the people that you love, sitting in the seat, feeling all the feels. But the moment you take a step towards your, in that courage, that's when you become brave. And that's when things change, and that's when things shift. And so that's why I tell people, like, so it's brave leadership, because there is a brand of leadership that you have to be brave enough to identify and then walk in, because it's going to do something miraculous, not just for you, but for your company. Somebody needs to see you. One of the reasons I did, I was fortunate enough I could write an article for Forbes.com. And one of the reasons I did in my branding photo shoots and things of that nature, one of the reasons that I took the pictures that I took in my curly hair, right, was because I knew that someone who looked like me needed to see, if they saw someone who looked like me with curly hair, brown skin, being female on Forbes, talking about thought leadership in the leadership development space, then it would give them permission to go, wait, I have an idea about that. Like, sometimes there are things that I needed to do that for me, but that I was also recognizing that, you know what, I needed to show up for somebody else to say, yeah, you can do this. I don't care what the space looks like, right? Let's just be real. Leadership development space, and I honor, let me be clear, I honor the founders, the fathers of the movement, of what leaders look like and what we know as leadership right now. I honor them because they created this whole industry that I get to partake in. But most of the people in the leadership development space don't look like me. And for the longest time, I was like, I can't do this because I don't look like them. They're not going to receive this from me. I am not an older white male. And there's nothing that can ever be done to make me an old white man. Just not going to happen. And so I've always operated in the level of wisdom. Even when I was younger, it was like, oh, no, I can be a leadership coach when I'm 50 or 60. Then people will take me seriously. I will never forget, I was at this conference and I told someone, and I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I can't remember, but yeah, it was late 20s or early 30s. And I told someone that I was an executive coach. And they looked at me kind of perplexed and said, well, what gives you the right to do that? And I looked them square in the eye and I said, the results I get from my clients.
Come on.
And I walked away. And that was a time where it was like, now the courage in me would have been like, oh, like, you know what you can do. But the bravery that came out of my mouth was, hey, it's not about me. It's what I do for my clients. And if you can't receive from me because I look too young, well, boo-boo, that's on you. That's on you.
Yeah.
There are people out there, and this is what I want to say about, as a brand, as a business, it's not that how about we break up with the thought that I don't fit in?
Yeah.
What if we break up with that thought? What if we break agreement with that thought? And as a business owner, what we as entrepreneurs have the unique ability to do is to raise our flag and say, who else is like me? Anybody? Because when you ask who else is like me, then the answer to that question always presents itself. People be like, me. When you ask yourself, what's wrong with me? Have you ever noticed that you always come up with an answer?
Wow.
The questions we ask are indicative of the answers that we receive. So if we're getting some of the answers that we don't like and that are holding us down, then maybe we need to ask different questions. Who else is like me? Why don't I fit in? Well, if you ask yourself why you don't fit in, then you'll get an answer about why you don't fit in. And then you'll still not fit in, and now you'll just have an answer for it, right? You're still kind of in bondage. It's like, but when I ask, like as a business owner, we have the ability to say, is there anybody else who feels, and as an ambitious woman, you love, now I'm just going to talk about, my brand, you love God, you feel like he's called you to work, and you want to do things in the workplace, in your industry, not just for a new paycheck or a new pair of shoes or something like that, but you really feel like you're called to this industry to make a difference. And you do not want to put your spiritual beliefs on the shelf, and you do not want to be under the pressure to go and proselytize and evangelize every person that you meet anytime you come to work. But if you know that there's something else there, who else is like me? And that's how one of my programs, Unleashed, really got started, because I was like, who else is like me? Like, you're ambitious, and you're tired of hiding your ambitions in church, because in church we kind of get a different message about what women can and cannot do. I'm not going to touch that can of worms. So you can't talk about your ambition in church, but then at work you can be ambitious, but you can't really talk about that relationship with the Lord like that. And if you're like, I'm not separating these two anymore, I'm coming fully all of me. If you want the best solutions in my role as the senior vice president in this position, or just a manager in this position, if you want the best from me, then I need to integrate all of who I am and bring everything that I am so I can do this. Right? So one of my, I like movies. I always make a movie reference, 90s reference or something like that. And so one of the, when they did the X-Men series, like the First Class all over again with Jennifer Lawrence, and they were training for one of the things. And so her natural nature is blue. That's her natural nature. Blue, red hair, that's her natural nature. But she had the appearance of the Jennifer Lawrence character at the time, right? And she was trying to work out and pump iron at the same time. And Magneto comes in and he says to her, and he does something, he takes the bar and he lifts it up and then drops it. And so she has to catch it. And in her catching it, she turns from the, normal human appearance to her blue appearance to catch the bar. And he says, you cannot be divided. You cannot hold or reserve a piece of yourself so that you look like everyone else when it comes time to fighting.
Wow.
You need that energy to do what you need to do. And I feel like, I just raise the flag and go, who's like me? Anybody? Right? And that's what we can do as business owners. That's that part of that. I go back to scripture. So that says, put your lamp you don't put a lamp under a bushel. Yeah. You put it for other people to see. Let your light shine.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's going to attract people to you. And therefore you will no longer feel like you don't fit in. Because if you just shine your light, people will come to you who are attracted to that light, who have the same light, who has the same brand of crazy as you do. And I think that's why we get along, Rachel, because we have the same brand of crazy. Like, we're like, who says?
That's right.
Who says? Let's just go for it. So anywho.
No, I love that. As you were talking, the thing that I almost got teary-eyed, because, we say this thing that, you don't know who's waiting for you to show up. But literally, I have the gift of your friendship because of people who had the courage to raise the flag and be like, hey,
yep.
Who's like me? Who's like me? If they hadn't have done that, we never would have met.
True.
And so, the reason that imposter syndrome comes to try to shut us down, I believe, is to keep us from stepping into fully who we are. And when we do that, it's not just for ourselves. We don't know who's waiting for us to show up. So anyway, wow, this has been such a powerful conversation. Thank you so much, Julia. I know you got to run. Before you do, how can the brand bosses get in touch with you and with Brave Leadership Consulting?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, guys. So find me on LinkedIn, Julia and Winston on LinkedIn. And you can find a little bit more about me at braveleadershipconsulting.com.
Awesome. Thank you so
Find me
much.
on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm send me a personal message that says, hey, I heard you on Brand Bosses. Then that will I might give Rachel something special. You'll see
Ooh.
some fantastic people.
Ooh. Well, thank you for that. Well, we hope you found great value in today's episode. If you did, please review, rate, subscribe, and share with your friends. We want to equip as many as we can to go out and rock the brand of you and your company like a boss. We'll catch you on the next episode. Keep rocking.